Hello everyone and welcome to the Witch Doctor's Guide to ServiceNow, episode number 24. Today we're going to take a look at something that is new in New York release, which is called XML Parser, and that is something you are using in the Flow Designer and Integration Hub. And if I never get this to work. If I can get the PowerPoint, there we go. My name is Goran Landqvist, aka the Witch Doctor. Been around ServiceNow for a couple of years now, first as a customer, then as a consultant in a partner, and now I'm working in ServiceNow as a developer internally. Been around doing a lot of stuff, everything from sitting in the service desk to being a IT process owner and developer, and now I'm here doing videos for you guys, trying to let you learn how ServiceNow is working and how to benefit from it as well. Love the community, try to be there as much as possible, helping out, trying to solve and learn new stuff, of course. I don't know way far for everything, so I learn new stuff every day as well. Keep on learning, I guess. About learning, I wrote a book where I try to pin down the stuff that I wish that I knew when I started out, at least. Here are a couple of bullet points what this book contains. So if you're interested, take a look at Amazon, just search for ServiceNow and you will have it pop up there as well. But enough about me. So today we're going to talk about the XML parser. What's the reason for it? What can we use for it? How do we activate it? There is a small bug right now that I want to show you how to get around. How we're using it, how we're building what we call the complex objects or the complex data object, which I hopefully will do the next video about as well. And of course there are some tiny limitations as well. This is the first version. We'll go through them as well so you don't slam your head against the wall for not understanding why it's actually doing how it does. So let me skip my PowerPoint and let me try to get my monitors straight and see you are looking at the correct ones. So let's go directly to the Flow Designer. So basically this is when you're building, for example, your own custom actions. You might want to do integration, and what you get in return is an XML sheet. And just to show you, for those who's not that familiar, I'm going to use this anyway, so move around the mic, incident. I'm just going to fetch some incidents to show you later on as well, and don't need to get that many. I'll just export these as XML. Excuse me, and we'll just put this in. Yeah, let's put them right here. There we go. And if you look at my folder structure, it's not that good, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. So XML Flow Designer. So I'm just going to show you a short what I'm building right now, where we are actually creating WebEx meetings, and you can see the different ways, and this is actually in WebEx development or test instance. So basically we throw away an XML, and in return we get something really not so good looking, and here you can see is the XML parser. Right now, as you can see, this one isn't that big. You might have an XML that is a lot bigger, but still you would like to map these values that you get back to different fields and reuse it and stuff like that. And that is where the XML parser will really shine. So this is how it can look when it's done. So let's go from scratch instead. We'll just hit one of my test stuff. Hit this one. Oh, I forgot. Of course, if you haven't done this, you need to activate it. Sorry about that one. Let's go back and show you. And I'll talk about the bug as well. I actually wrote down some notes. I might look at them instead so I remember to tell you everything I know about this XML parser. So of course you go to plugins, you hit XML, and it's right here. You just hit install and it's being working as it should. What I noticed, and not only this one, but even other things that is connected to Flow, that after you install it, suddenly when I get into the designer, and let me just double check, I'll just zoom in a little bit more, like that. Suddenly nothing happens when you click on these after you activate it. And I think it's only the user that actually activated the plugin that will have this issue, not sure. But what you need to do to fix this, and it's really easy, is that you just go to scripts background, and I'll put in this line of code in the description down below this video in YouTube. And what you really do is just hit GlideCacheManager.invalidate and just hit run. And after you've done that, you just open up Flow Designer again, and then this button should actually work. Now, normally, and I'm not going to go through how to build the rest step, I'm just going to put it up here, because I would like to have the rest steps outgoing stuff, so I can show you where to put it. So basically, you have a rest step first, you get the XML back. And this is the place where you want to do. Now, look, let's do like that. I thought I actually removed this one. You never saw this one. So, this is basically how it does. You have a couple of windows. The first source data is, okay, where do the Flow get the XML data? In that case, it's the response body. So you can either drag and drop, or you can just pinpoint it like that. So this is where it gets the data. Then you have a payload view down here. And in this case, this is where you want to put in your demo data, or where you actually have an example of the XML file. How does it look when I get it? So in this case, I actually already had it. This is just the XML data of the 2 incidents that I downloaded earlier. So I get all this information back. And let's say I would like to map these to some other records later on. So I would like to keep most of the data. Earlier, you have to probably script this and go through the whole process manually. But what you can do, when you have pasted in the example, and you can have raw edit mode, or you can have structure, and structure actually make you drill down in a nice way. Here you can see I actually have 2 incidents, so it means that I have an array of objects inside here as well. So I would like to have both incidents, and in this case, which is kind of nice with the complex data object, is that I can put them in one of those, and then in my flow I can actually use for example the for each one to loop through the data I've gotten back, which is a new nice thing as well. But I don't manually would like to build all this. I can do it by hitting create object. Then I first perhaps would like to have incident, and then let's see if I can do it like that. Then inside the incident object, I would like to have number, for example, and I would like to have short description, and so on. I'm not going to do it. You can already now see that it's take time. And then, of course, number. I need to go in, sorry, not that one, exit edit mode. And now I need to define the XPath. Where is the data for this field? Now, a nice thing is that all these boxes, if I click on those, they actually copy the XPath to that element. So I can just click on it and paste in the XPath. So that's a nice way of doing it. Another thing that is a lot nicer is this one, the generate target button. If I click on that one, smack, and you can see now suddenly we have all the stuff that actually comes in XML in a complex object. One of the nice things that we actually have here is you can see that you have the new things. You can have array of objects and so on. So this object contains multiple objects and so on, which is a really nice feature. Let me just double check. We have the source field, we have the generate target, we have this way as well. Manually One thing you think of that I know, for example, I had with the WebEx is that I sent in a request, got back the response successfully, pasted in the payload view, got all the fields. But if I got an error from WebEx, they actually have another field that doesn't, another element that doesn't show up when it's successfully. And since I didn't paste that one in here, it wasn't created in here as well. So make sure that you manually perhaps add those few elements so you have all the information, because of course that element that I was missing contained why it was a failure. So I really needed that as well. And for that, of course, you can just go in here. Even if I click the generate target, I can still manually add more stuff if I want. Now when we're done, we can of course not use this. In this case, for example, I have 2 instances and I want to loop them through. What I actually need to do is make an output, and hopefully you are customized with how to build custom actions and stuff like that. But in this case, I'll just create an object. And this is the output. Let me show you, just so we are all on the same page. Let me I'll just steal something and take a look at that one. You can see that this, for example, the trigger, these are the outputs. From this action, of course, I choose an action that doesn't have anything. Let me just click on something. We'll do this action called update record. You can see that that update record actually has the record and the table as an output later on. I need to find the record. I can take the case record. There we go. I'll just say update that one, and then later on, if I want to do more stuff with this record, I can get it and just pull it down. Like if I by some reason doesn't make sense, but I would like to delete that record, I can just see number 2. I can just drag and drop it like that. So this is the output, meaning to be able to get my XML data to the flow so I can actually use it, I need to create outputs. And since this was a complex object we're creating here, you can see the unload object. We probably would like to create the same thing here. So let's go in and let's start from scratch. I was thinking, there we go, and I just called it XML Payload for fun. And we would like to have that as an object. Now, as you think, and I will go through this more in the video about the complex object, but to be able to have this to work, I need to have the same structure, variable names and so on in this object as I have in the payload object that I would like to copy in here. So what you can actually do, you can of course manually go through all of those, but similar where you actually copied this data over here by the generate target, you can actually go to the top one and hit save as template. Now, remember that save as template actually looks at the structure how it is now. So I'll just save it as episode 24. So it's saved. Now I can go to the output, say that this one should actually start from a template. And there you can see it's created all of these for me as well, directly. Now, what can be a mess is that if I wasn't finished with my XML parser step, and I go back here and I now add something, now that field won't be added to the outputs. So make sure you create this and are done with this one before you save it as a template. And then when you go back here and create it, you then get all the fields you wanted. Hopefully later on it will dynamically get all the fields and stuff like that, but now at least in New York it doesn't really do that for you. But it's still a really nice step. So now when we got these, we could actually later on go in the flow and run to a for each loop on those incidents that I get back. So let's see, we have gone through the fields, we have the payload, we have the manually with the XPath, we have looked at the payroll. So now we're looking at the limitations, and this is for the New York release. So if you're watching this video later on and Orlando might be live, these limitations might not be up to date anymore, but for New York it is. So one of the limitations is that when you paste into this field the demo data, there is a limitation of 64,000 characters. So if you have a bigger one, you have to trim it down to make it work. I haven't actually tested it, but I'll probably guess it will be truncated, and you will be in trouble because you won't get all the fields, I guess. Good to know as well as when we are, and this is only for this field when you're building it. So it's in the design phase, we should call it. It's not that limitation when you run it, just so you know that. Another limitation is when this flow action is being run, is that the incoming XML response that you're getting, the max size right now is 10 megabytes. So you know that as well. Another thing as well is that you might have more advanced XMLs where you have multiple namespaces. Right now the XML parser can't really handle multiple namespaces, so that means that it will actually remove the namespace and put it into the same namespace. And I guess if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't bother right now. But what it means is, and I'm just going to show you, that you can have one field with the namespace like that, and then you can have the same element name but in a different namespace. I'm just going to do it like that. So this works because here you can see in total it's unique, but we can't handle multiple right now. So since we remove the namespaces, you can see that suddenly these two elements has the same name, so they will conflict. So be aware of that if you're running into issues as well. Last thing is as well is that in XML you can have dots and hyphen in the namespaces, and that is not supported in the New York release either. So that I think is about it. Let's make a quick summary, I guess. XML parser new in New York. You activate it as a plugin. If you activate it as a plugin and you can't click, nothing happens when you click on these, for example, then you need to run the code that is in the description of this YouTube video. It's just a one-liner. I show it in the beginning of this video as well, and then it will work. Just restart the Flow Designer. Then you get the XML parser step. You have the source data where you define where is the incoming XML. The payload view, this one is basically just changing how you look at this payload video. And structure is something you can choose after you paste in your demo data. So you have an example of the response body that you get. You paste it in raw edit mode, and then you can choose structure. It might be a little bit easier to go through what fields and stuff you actually get. You can either manually create the target, or you can click on generate target to actually create it after the demo you have sent in here. If you do it manually, you can actually define the different fields. Then for the XPath, you actually find the field, and then you just click on it to copy the XPath, and then you just paste it in there as well. Remember that in the XML demo that you might have gotten, it doesn't contain all the fields that you actually get depending on the scenario. So you might want to add a few fields manually, for example, or you just paste in a new demo data and just copy over the XPath for that one, for example. When you're done, you might want to save this as a template right now, because you want to take the same object and have that as an output. You just click on the arrow down. Oh, sorry. You need to be on the right spot. So you need to be in, I already saved it, that's why, I think. There we go. You need to be on the top one and in edit mode. Then you can click save as template and reuse this later on when you go to outputs and you create the object here. Let me scroll up and I'll just do like that. You choose create output. I'll just write something and then I choose object, and then you should use start from template and you select which template you want to use. Remember that when you hit save as template, and if you do changes to this target, it won't be reflected in the template and as well in the outputs. So make sure you build the target finished and then make it a template and move it over. Limitations: when you have the demo data, 64,000 characters, incoming XML payload, 10 megabytes. The XML parser can't handle multiple namespaces. It can't handle dots or hyphens either. And I think this is about it. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I will get a video with the complex data objects sooner than between this one and the old video. So see you around, and thank you for watching.